Hi friends, in this video you will find all the Indian Constitution articles. So I request you all to please subscribe. So must subscribe to this channel so that you will get more and more videos about competitive examinations. So please do subscribe and give a comment. So let me start now. Part 1. Part 1 says about the Union and its territory. Article 1. Name and territory of the Union. Article 2. Admission or establishment of new states. Article 3. Formation of new states and alteration of areas, boundaries or names of existing states. Article 4. Laws made under Article 2 and 3 to provide for the amendment of the first and the fourth scheduled and supplemental, incidental and consequential matters. Part 2. Citizenship. Article 5. Citizenship at the commencement of the Constitution. Article 6. Rights of citizenship of certain persons who have migrated to India from Pakistan. Article 7. Rights of citizenship of certain migrants to Pakistan. Article 8. Rights of citizenship of certain persons of the Indian origin residing outside India. Article 9. Persons voluntarily acquiring citizenship of a foreign state not to be citizens. Article 10. Continuance of the right of citizenship. Article 10 is continuance of the rights of citizenship. Article 11. Parliament to regulate the right of citizenship by law. Part 3. Fundamental rights. Article 12. Definition. Article 13. Laws inconsistent with or in derogation of the fundamental rights. Article 14. Equality before law. Article 15. Prohibition of discrimination on grounds of religion, race, caste, sex or place of birth. Article 16. Equality of opportunity in matters of public employment. Article 17. Abolition of untouchability. Article 18. Abolition of titles. Article 19. Protection of certain rights regarding freedom of speech, etc. Article 20. Protection in respect of conviction for offences. Article 21. Protection of life and personal liberty. Article 21A. Right to education. Article 22. Protection against arrest and detention in certain cases. Article 21A. Right to education. Article 22. Protection against arrest and detention in certain cases. Article 23. Prohibition of traffic in human beings and forced labor. Article 24. Prohibition of employment of children in factories, etc. Article 25. Freedom of conscience and free profession, practice and propagation of religion. Article 26. Freedom to manage religious affairs. Article 27. Freedom as to payment of taxes for promotion of any particular religion. Article 28. Freedom as to attendance at religious instruction of religious worship in certain educational institutions. Let me repeat the same article once again. Article 28. Freedom as to attendance at religious instruction or religious worship in certain educational institutions. Article 29. Protection of interest of minorities. Article 30. Right of minorities to establish and administer educational institutions. Article 31, it is deleted. Article 31A, saving of laws providing for acquisition of estates, etc. Article 31B, validation of certain acts and regulations. Article 31C, saving of laws giving effect to certain directive principles. Article 31D, repealed, it is deleted. Article 32, remedies for enforcement of rights conferred by this part. Article 32A, it's repealed. Article 33, power of Parliament to modify the rights conferred by this part in their application to forces, etc. Article 34, restriction on rights conferred by this part while martial law is in force in any area. Article 35, legislation to give effect to the provisions of this part. Now, next part is part 4, directive principles of state policy. Article 36 to 51. Article 36, definition. Article 37, application of the principles contained in this part. Article 38, state to secure a social order for the promotion of welfare of the people. 39, certain principles of policy to be followed by the state. 39A, equal justice and free legal aid. 40, organization of village panchayats. 41, right to work, to education and to public assistance in certain cases. 42, provision for just and human conditions of work and maternity relief. 43, living wage, etc. for workers. 43A, participation of workers in management of industries. 43B, promotion of cooperative societies. 44, uniform civil code for the citizens. 45, provision for free and compulsory education for children. 46, promotion of educational and economic interest of scheduled caste, scheduled tribes and other weaker sections. Article 47, duty of the state to raise the level of nutrition and the standard of living and to improve public health. 48, organization of agriculture and animal husbandry. 48A, protection and improvement of environment and safeguarding of forests and wildlife. 49, protection of monuments and places and objects of national importance. 50, separation of judiciary from executive. 51, promotion of international peace and security. Part 4A, fundamental duties. Article 51A is fundamental duties. Part 5, the Union. Chapter 1, the Executive. Article 52, the President of India. 53, executive power of Union. 54, election of President. 55, manner of election of President. 56, term office of the President. 57, eligibility for re-election. 58, qualifications of election as President. 59, conditions of President's office. 60, oath or affirmation by the President. 61, procedure for impeachment of the President. 62, time of holding election to fill vacancy in the office of President and the term of office of person elected to fill casual vacancy. 63, the Vice President of India. 64, the Vice President to be ex officio Chairman of the Council of States. 65, the Vice President to act as President or to discharge his functions during casual vacancies in the office or during the absence of President. 66, election of Vice President. 67. Term of office of Vice President. 68. Time of holding election to fill vacancy in the office of Vice President and the term of office of person elected to fill casual vacancy. 69. Oath or affirmation by the Vice President. Discharge of Article 70. Discharge of President's functions in other contingencies. 71. Matters relating to or connected with the election of a President or Vice President. 72. Power of President to grant pardons, etc., and to suspend, remit, or commute sentences in certain cases. 73. Extent or executive power of the Union. 74. Council of Ministers to aid and advise President. 75. Other provisions as to ministers. 76. Attorney General for India. 77. Conduct of business of the Government of India. 78. Duties of Prime Minister as respects the furnishing of information to the President, etc. Next, Chapter 2. Parliament. Article 79. Constitution of Parliament. 80. Composition of the Council of States. 81. Composition of the House of the People. 82. Readjustment after each census. Article 83. Duration of Houses of Parliament. 84. Qualification of membership of Parliament. 85. Sessions of Parliament, prorogation and dissolution. 86. Right to President to address and send messages to Houses. 87. Special address by the President. 88. Rights of Ministers and Attorney General as respected Houses. 89. The Chairman and Deputy Chairman of the Council of States. 90. Vacation and resignation of and removal from the office of Deputy Chairman. 91. Power of the Deputy Chairman or other person to perform the duties of the office or to act as Chairman. 92. The Chairman or the Deputy Chairman not to preside while a resolution for his removal from the office is under consideration. 93. The Speaker and Deputy Speaker of the House of the People. 94. Vacation and resignation of and removal from the offices of Speaker and Deputy Speaker. 95. Power of the Deputy Speaker or other person to perform the duties of the office of or to act as Speaker. 96. The Speaker or the Deputy Speaker not to preside while a resolution for his removal from office is under consideration. 97. Salaries and allowances of the Chairman and Deputy Chairman and the Speaker and Deputy Speaker. 98. Secretariat of Parliament. 99. Oath or affirmation by members. 100. Voting in houses, power of houses to act notwithstanding vacancies and quorum. 101. Vacation of seats. 102. Disqualifications for membership. 103. Decisions on questions as to disqualifications of members. 104. Penalty for sitting and voting before making oath or affirmation under article or when not qualified or when disqualified. 105. Powers, privileges, etc. of the Houses of Parliament and of the members and committees thereof. Article 106. Salaries and allowances of members. Article 107. Provisions as to introduction and passing of bills. 108. Joint sitting of both houses in certain cases. 109. Special procedure in respect of money bills. 110. Definition of money bills. 111. Assent to bills. 112. Annual financial statement. 113. Procedure in Parliament with respect to estimates. 114 appropriation bills. 115 supplementary, additional or excess grants. 116 votes on account, votes of credit and exceptional grants. 117 special provisions as to financial bills. 118 rules of procedure. 119 regulation by law of procedure in parliament in relation to financial business. 120 language to be used in parliament. 121 restriction on discussion in parliament. 122 courts not to inquire into proceedings of parliament. So this is all about chapter 2. Next we will move to chapter 3, legislative powers of president. So, chapter 3, legislative powers of the president. 123 power of president to promulgate ordinances during recess of parliament. Chapter 4, the union judiciary. Article 124 establishment and constitution of Supreme Court. 124A national judicial appointments. 124B functions of commission. 124C power of parliament to make law. 125 salaries etc. of judges. 126 appointing of acting of chief justice. 127 appointment of ad hoc judges. 128 attendance of retired judges as. Article 128 attendance of retired judges at sitting of the Supreme Court. Article 129 Supreme Court to be a court of record. Article 130 seat of Supreme Court. 131 original jurisdiction of the Supreme Court. 132 appellate jurisdiction of Supreme Court in appeals from high courts in the certain cases. 133 appellate jurisdiction of Supreme Court in appeals from high courts in regard to civil matters. 134 appellate jurisdiction of Supreme Court in regard to criminal matters. 134A certificate for appeal to the Supreme Court. 135 jurisdiction and powers of the federal court under existing law to be exercisable by the Supreme Court. 136 special leave to appeal by the Supreme Court. 137 review of judgments or orders by the Supreme Court. 138 enlargement of the jurisdictions of the Supreme Court. 139 conferment on the Supreme Court of powers to issue certain writs. 139A transfer of certain cases. 140 ancillary powers of the Supreme Court. ANCILLARY ancillary powers of Supreme Court. 140 141 law declared by Supreme Court to be binding on all courts. 142 enforcement of decrees and orders of Supreme Court and orders as to discovery etc. 143 power of president to consult Supreme Court. 144 civil and judicial authorities to act in aid of the Supreme Court. 145 rules of courts etc. 146 officers and servants and the expenses of the Supreme Court. 147 interpretation. Next chapter 4, the next chapter 5 Comptroller and Auditor General of India. Article 148 Comptroller and Auditor General of India, that is called COG. 149 duties and powers of Comptroller and Auditor General. 150 form of accounts of the Union and of the states. 151 audit reports. Next part 6, the states. So we have done with chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, chapter 4 and chapter 5. Now part 6 of Indian Constitution, the states. In the states, again we have the chapter 1 to chapter 6. Chapter 1 is general. Okay. Article 152 says about the definition. Basically, in this the definition it is given like in this part, unless the context of otherwise requires, the expression state does not include the state of Jammu and Kashmir, but now Jammu and Kashmir is part of India. Chapter 2 says about the executive. Article 153, governor of states. 154, executive powers of state. 155, appointment of governor. 156, term of office of governor. 157, qualifications for appointment as governor. 158, conditions of governor's office. 159, oath or affirmation by the governor. 160, discharge of the functions of the governor in certain contingencies. 161, power of governor to grant pardons, etc., and to suspend, remit or commute sentences in certain cases. 162, extent of executive power of state. 163, council of ministers to aid and advise governor. 164, other provisions as to ministers. 165, advocate general for the state. 166, conduct of business of the government of state. 167, duties of minister as respects the furnishing of information to governor, etc. Now chapter 3, the state legislature. The state legislature, article 168 to 212. Article 168, constitution of legislatures in states. 169, abolition or certain. 169, abolition or creation of legislation councils in states. Let me repeat again. 169, abolition or creation of legislation councils in states. 170, composition of the legislature assemblies. 171, composition of the legislative councils. 172, duration of state legislators. 173, qualification for membership of the state legislature. 174, sessions of the state legislature, prorogation and dissolution. 175, right of governor to address and send messages to the house or houses. 176, special address by the governor. 177, rights of ministers and advocate general as respects the houses. 178, the speaker and deputy speaker of the legislative assembly. 179, vacation and resignation of and removal from the offices of speaker and deputy speaker. Article 180, power of the deputy speaker or other persons to perform the duties of the office of or to act as speaker. Article 181, the speaker or the deputy speaker not to preside while a resolution for his removal from the office is under consideration. Article 182, the chairman and deputy chairman of the legislative council. 183, vacation and resignation of and removal from the offices of chairman and deputy chairman. 184, power of the deputy chairman or other persons to perform the duties of the office of or to act as chairman. 185, the chairman or the deputy chairman not to preside while a resolution for his removal from office is under consideration. 186, salaries and allowances of the speaker and deputy speaker and the chairman and the deputy chairman. 187. Secretariat of State Legislature. 188. Oath or affirmation by members. 189. Voting in houses, power of houses to act notwithstanding vacancies and quorum. 190. Vacation of seats. 191. Disqualifications for membership. 192. Decision on questions as to disqualifications of members. 193. Penalty for sitting and voting before making oath or affirmation under article or when not qualified or when disqualified. 194. Powers, privileges, etc. of the houses, of legislatures and of the members and committees thereof. Salaries and allowances of members. 195. 196. Provisions as to introduction and passing of bills. 197. Restriction on powers of legislative council as to bills other than money bills. 198. Special procedure in respect of money bills. 199. Definition of money bills. 200. Assent to bills. 201. Bills reserved for consideration. 202. Annual financial statement. 203. Procedure in legislature with respect to estimates. 204. Appropriation bills. 205. Supplementary, additional or excess grants. 206. Votes on account, votes of credit and exceptional grants. 207. Special provisions as to financial bills. 208. Rules of procedure. 209. Regulation by law of procedure in the legislature of the state in relation to financial business. 210. Language to be used in the legislature. Article 211. Restriction on discussion in the legislature. 212. Courts not to inquire into proceedings of the legislature. Now let's go to the next chapter. So we have done with 168 to 212 the state legislature chapter 3. Chapter 4 is legislative power of the governor. Article 23. The power of governor to promulgate ordinances during recess of legislature. Now chapter 5, the high courts in the states. Article 214, high courts for states. 215, high courts to be courts of record. 216, constitution of high courts. 217, appointment and conditions of the office of a judge of a high court. 218, application of certain provisions relating to Supreme Court to high courts. 219, oath or affirmation by judges of high courts. 220, restriction on practice after being a permanent judge. 221, salaries etc. of judges. 222, transfer of judge from one high court to another. 223, appointment of acting chief justice. 224, appointment of additional and acting judges. 224A, appointment of retired judges at sitting of high courts. 225, jurisdiction of existing high courts. 226, power of high courts to issue certain writs. 227, power of superintendence over all courts by the high court. 228, transfer of certain cases to high court. 229, officers and servants and the expenses of high courts. 230, extension of jurisdiction of high courts to union territories. 231, establishment of a common high court for two or more states. Next, chapter 6, subordinate courts. Article 233, appointment of district judges. 233A, validation of appointments of and judgments etc. delivered by certain district judges. 234, recruitment of persons other than district judges to the judicial service. 235, control over subordinate courts. 236, interpretation. 237, application of the provisions of this chapter to certain cases or classes of magistrates. Part 7, it has been deleted. Part 8, the Union Territories. Article 239, administration of Union Territories. Article 239A, creation of local legislatures of Council of Ministers or both for certain Union Territories. 239AA, special provisions with respect to Delhi. 239AB, provision in case of failure of constitutional machinery. 239B, power of administrator to promulgate ordinances during recess of legislature. 240, power of president to make regulations for certain union territories. 241, high courts for union territories. 242, it is deleted. Part 9, the panchayats. Article 243, definitions. 243A, Gram Sabha. 243B, Constitution of Panchayats. 243C, composition of panchayats. 243D, reservation of seats. 243E, duration of panchayats etc. 243F, disqualifications for membership. 243G, powers, authority and responsibilities of panchayats. 243H, powers to impose taxes by and funds of the panchayats. 243I, constitution of finance composition to review financial position. 243J, audit of accounts of panchayats. 243K, elections to the panchayats. 243L, application to union territories. 243M, part not to apply to certain areas. 243N, continuance of existing laws and panchayats. 243O, bar to interference by courts in electoral matters. 243O, bar to interference by courts in electoral matters. Now part 9A, the municipalities. Article 243P. 243P, definitions. 243Q, constitution of municipalities. 243R, composition of municipalities. 243S, constitution and composition of wards, committee etc. 243T, reservation of seats. 243U, duration of municipalities etc. 243V, disqualifications for membership. 243W, power, authorities and responsibilities of municipalities etc. Article 243X, power to impose taxes by and funds of the municipalities. 243Y, finance commission. 243Z, audit of accounts of municipalities. 243ZA, elections to the municipalities. 243ZB, application to union territories. 243ZC, part not to apply to certain areas. 243ZD, committee for the district planning. 243ZE, committee for metropolitan planning. 243ZF, continuance of existing laws and municipalities. 243ZG, bar to interference by courts in electoral matters. Next, part 9B, the cooperative societies. Article 243ZH, definitions. Article 243ZI, Incorporation of Cooperative Societies. 243ZJ, Number and term of members of board and its office bearers. Article 243ZK, Election of members of board. Article 243ZL, Suppression and suspension of board and interim management. Article 243ZM, Audit of accounts of cooperative societies. Article 243ZN, Convening of general body meeting. 243ZO, Right of a member to get information. 243ZP, Returns. 243ZQ, Offences and penalties. 243ZR, Application to multi-state cooperative societies. Article 243ZS, Application to union territories. Article 243ZT, Continuance of existing laws. Next, Part 10. Part 10, the scheduled and tribal areas. Article 24, Administration of scheduled areas and tribal areas. Article 244A, Formation of an autonomous state comprising certain tribal areas in Assam and creation of local legislature or council of ministers or both thereof. Now the next part is part 11. Part 11, relation between the union and the states. The chapter 1 is legislative relations. Article 245, extent of laws made by parliament and by the legislatures of the states. Article 226, subject matter of laws made by the parliament and by the legislatures of states. Article 246A, special provision with respect to goods and service tax. 247, power of parliament to provide for the establishment of certain additional codes. 248, residuary power of legislation. 249, power of parliament to legislate with respect to a matter in state list and in the national interest. Article 250, power of parliament to legislate with respect to any matter in the state list if a proclamation of emergency is in operation. 251, inconsistency between laws made by parliament under articles and laws made by the legislatures of the states. Article 252, power of parliament to legislate for two or more states by consent and adoption of such legislation by any other state. Article 253, legislation for giving effect to international agreements. Article 254, inconsistency between laws made by parliament and laws made by the legislatures of states. Article 255, requirements as to recommendations and previous sanctions to be regarded as matters of procedures only. Chapter 2, administrative relations. Article 256, obligation of states and the union. 257, control of the union over states in certain cases. 258, power of the union to confer rights. Article 258, power of the union to confer powers, etc. on states in certain cases. Article 258A, power of the states to entrust functions to the union. 260, jurisdiction of the union in relation to territories outside India. 261, public acts, records and judicial proceedings. 262, adjudication of disputes relating to waters of interstate rivers or river valleys. 263, provisions with respect to an interstate council. Part 12, Part 12 Finance, Article 264 Interpretation. 265 Taxes not to be imposed save by authority of law. 266 Consolidated funds and public accounts of India and of the states. 267 Contingency fund. 268 Duties levied by the union but collected and appropriated by the state. 269 Taxes levied and collected by the union but assigned to the states. 269A Levy and collection of goods and services tax in the course of interstate trade or commerce. 270 Taxes levied and distributed between the union and the states. 271 Surcharge on certain duties and taxes for purposes of the union. 273 Grants in lieu of export duty on jute and jute products. 274 Prior recommendations of President required to bill affecting taxation in which states are interested. 275 Grants from the union to certain states. 276 Taxes on professions, trades, callings and employments. 277 Savings. 279 Calculations of net proceeds etc. 279A Goods and Services Tax Council. 280 Finance Commission. 281 Recommendations of the Finance Commission. 282 Expenditure defrayable by the union or a state out of its revenues. 283 Custody etc. of consolidated funds, contingency funds and monies credited to the public accounts. 284 Custody of suitors' deposits and other monies received by public servants and courts. Article 285 Exemption of property of the union from the state taxation. 286 Restrictions as to imposition of tax on the sale or purchase of goods. 287 Exemption from taxes on electricity. 288 Exemption from taxation by the states in respect of water or electricity in certain cases. 289 Exemption of property and income of a state from union taxation. 290 Adjustment in respect of certain expenses and pensions. 290A Annual payment to certain DVASWOM funds. Let me repeat again. 290A Annual payments to certain DVASWOM funds. DEVASWOM, or you can call it as DVASWOM funds. Okay. Next, Chapter 2 Borrowing. Article 292 Borrowing by the Government of India. 293 Borrowing by states. Chapter 3 says about property, contracts, rights, liabilities, obligations and suits. Article 294 Succession to property, assets, rights, liabilities and obligations in certain cases. Article 295 Succession to property, assets, rights, liabilities and obligations in other cases. 296 Property accruing by escheat or lapse or as bona vacantia. Article 297 Things of value within the territorial waters or continental shelf and resources of the exclusive economic zone to west in the Union. 298 Power to carry on trade etc. 299 Contracts. 300 Suits and proceedings. Chapter 4 Right to property. 300A Persons not to be deprived of property save by authority of law. Next, Part 13. Trade, commerce and intercourse within territory of India. Article 301. Freedom of trade, commerce and intercourse. 302. Power of Parliament to impose restrictions on trade, commerce and intercourse. 303. Restrictions on the legislative powers of the Union and of the states with regard to trade and commerce. 304. Restrictions on trade, commerce and intercourse among states. 305. Saving of existing laws and laws providing for state monopolies. 307. 306 is deleted. 307. Appointment of authority for carrying out the purposes of Articles 2, 304. Now, Now, Part 14. Service under the Union and the States. Chapter 1. Services. 308. Interpretation. 309. Recruitment and conditions of the 309. Recruitment and conditions of service of persons serving the Union or a state. Article 310. Tenure of office of persons serving the Union or a state. 311. Dismissal, removal or reduction in rank of persons employed in civil capacities under the Union or state. 312. All India services. 312A. Power of Parliament to vary or revoke conditions of service of officers of certain services. 313. Transitional provisions. Chapter 2. Public Service Commissions. 315. Public Service Commissions for the Union and for the State. 316. Appointment and term of office of members. 317. Removal and suspension of a member of a Public Service Commission. 318. Power to make regulations as to conditions of service of members and staff of the Commission. 319. Prohibition as to the holding of office by members of Commission on ceasing to be such members. 320. Functions of Public Service Commissions. 321. Power to extend functions of Public Service Commissions. 322. Expenses of Public Service Commission. 323. Reports of Public Service Commission. Part 14A. Tribunals. 323A. Administrative Tribunals. 323B. Tribunals or other matters. Part 15. Elections. Article 324. Superintendent's direction and control of elections to be vested in an election commission. 325. No person to be ineligible for inclusion in or to claim to be included in a special election roll on grounds of religion, race, caste or sex. 326. Elections to the House of the People and to the Legislative Assemblies of States to be on the basis of adult suffrage. 327. Power of Parliament to make provision with respect to elections to legislatures. Article 328. Power of legislature of a state to make provision with respect to elections to such legislature. Article 329. Bar to interference by courts in electoral matters. 329A, that is removed. Part 16. Special provisions relating to certain clauses. Article 330. Reservation of seats for scheduled castes and scheduled tribes in the House of the People. 331. Representation of the Anglo-Indian community in the Houses of the People. Article 332 Reservation of seats for scheduled caste and scheduled tribes in legislative assemblies of the states. 333 Representation of the Anglo-Indian community in the legislative assemblies of the states. 334 Reservation of seats and special representation to cease after certain period. 335 Claims of scheduled caste and scheduled tribes to services and post. 336 Special provision for Anglo-Indian community in certain services. 337 Special provision with respect to educational grants for the benefit of Anglo-Indian community. 338 National Commission for Scheduled Caste. 338A National Commission for Scheduled Tribes. 338B National Commission for Backward Classes. Article 339 Control of the Union over the administration of scheduled areas and the welfare of scheduled tribes. Article 340 Appointment of a commission to investigate the conditions of backward classes. Article 341 Scheduled castes. 342 Scheduled tribes. 342A Socially and educationally backward classes. Chapter 17 Now, Chapter 17 Official Language. Chapter 1 Language of the Union. Article 343 Official Languages of the Union. 344 Commission and Committee of Parliament on Official Language. Chapter 2 Regional Languages. Article 345 Official Language or Languages of State. 346 Official Language for communication between one state and another state, between a state and the Union. Article 346 is Official Language for the communication between one state and another of between a state and the Union. Article 347 Special provision relating to language spoken by a section of the population of a state. Chapter 3 Language of the Supreme Court, High Court, etc. Article 348 Language to be used in the Supreme Court and in High Courts and for acts, bills, etc. Article 349 Special procedure for enactment of certain laws relating to language. Chapter 4 Special directives. Article 350 Language to be used in representations for redress of grievances. 350A Facilities for instruction in mother tongue at primary stage. 350B Special Officer for Linguistic Minorities. 351 Directive for Development of the Hindi Language. Next, part 18. Article 352 Proclamation of Emergency. 353 Effect of Proclamation of Emergency. 354 Application of provisions relating to distribution of revenues while a proclamation of emergency is in operation. 355 Duty of the Union to protect states against external aggression and internal disturbance. Article 356 Provisions in case of failure of constitutional machinery in states. Article 357 Exercise of legislative powers under proclamation issued under Article 356. Article 358 Suspension of provisions of Article 19 during emergencies. 359 Suspension of the enforcement of the rights conferred by Part 3 during emergencies. 360 Provisions as to financial emergency. Part 19 Miscellaneous. Article 361 Protection of President and Governors and Raj Prakukus. 361A Protection of publication of proceedings of Parliament and State Legislatures. 361B Disqualification for appointment on remunerative political post. 363 Bar to interference by courts in disputes arising out of a certain treaties, agreements, etc. 363A Recognition granted to rulers of Indian states to seize and privy purses to be abolished. Article 364 Special provisions as to major ports and aerodromes. AERODROMES. Let me repeat. Article 364 says special provisions as to major ports and aerodromes. Article 365 Effect of failure to comply with or to give effect to directions given by the Union. Article 366 Definitions. 367 Interpretation. Chapter 20 368 Power of Parliament to amend the Constitution and procedure therefore. 20 Part 21 Temporary, Transitional and Special Provisions. Article 369 Temporary powers to Parliament to make laws with respect to certain matters in the state list as if there were matters in the concurrent list. Article 370 Temporary provisions with respect to the state of Jammu and Kashmir. 371 Special provisions with respect to the states of Maharashtra and Gujarat. 371A Special provisions with respect to the state of Nagaland. 371B Special provisions with respect to the state of Assam. 371C Special provisions with respect to the state of Manipur. 371D Special provisions with respect to the state of Andhra Pradesh. 371E Establishment of Central University in Andhra Pradesh. Article 371F Special provisions with respect to the state of Sikkim. 371G Special provision with respect to the state of Mizoram. 371H Special provisions with respect to the state of Arunachal Pradesh. 371I Special provision with respect to the state of Goa. 371J Special provision with respect to the state of Karnataka. 372 Continuance in force of existing laws and their adaptation. 372A Power of the President to adopt laws. 373 Power of President to make order in respect of persons under preventive detention in certain cases. 374 Provisions as to judges of the Federal Court and proceedings pending in the Federal Court or before His Majesty in Council. Article 375 Courts, authorities and officers to continue to function subject to the provisions of the Constitution. Article 376 Provisions as to judges of High Courts. 377 Provisions as to Comptroller and Auditor General of India. 378 Provisions as to Public Service Commissions. 378A Special provision as to duration of Andhra Pradesh Legislative Assembly. 379 to 391 removed. 392 Power of the President to remove difficulties. Part 22 393 Short title. Article 394 Commencement. 394A Authoritative text in the Hindi language. 395 it was repeals. So these are all the articles of Indian Constitution. My dear friends, please subscribe to this channel, share with everyone. I wish you all the best for all of your competitive government job, for all government competitive exams. Wish you all the best. Please do subscribe, and you can like the video and share with your friends, and families, and also leave the comment. Thank you so much and have a great day. Thank you.